Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. Again, John, Dave, and myself are going to look back over Leinster's good victory against Ulster, all the other Pro 12 action, and look forward to our game at the weekend against Cardiff. So, boys, 24-11. Ulster must be just sick of the sight of Leinster at this stage.
Yeah, sadly for them.
Leinster says no.
Yeah, Leinster says no. They were unlucky. Like they were dominating us in the first half. I just watched it back the other day, and I don't think we were in their half more than 3 times, and we got 3 scores. Okay, they're only 3-pointers, but you know they did all the running, and they just didn't get the points on the board. And then they had Mr. Chewy sent off, which is, well, it was unlucky, shall we say? Not that he didn't deserve it or anything, but you know,
could have gone either way.
It was a little harsh. So you know that really kind of screwed the game for him. And then, you know, our man Mazur did one of his wonder things, and you know he did some mixed kind of stuff there. Like he did some crappy stuff, and he did some, you know, that was worth the price of admission. That little run, the dart from 5 yards, was worth the price of admission on its own. So, you know, when a guy can do stuff like that. He did a few shonky kicks, as you would call them, out on the full, and you know,
that's the thing about
he pinned them back just before the you know, towards the last. It was a typical, you know, out half kick to control the game near the end, where he put it up into the left corner of the field, up beside the little blue scoreboard there in the corner, and it was just a perler of a kick.
Well, I think there's 2 things to say about it. One, if he hadn't scored that try, what would your review of his performance be?
Of course,
quite poor.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the thing about the way both our out halves are playing. I mean, it's serious mixed bag from both of them. And the other one is that this is possibly me being uncharitable.
Possibly.
But I've always thought that Madigan operates better when the pressure is taken off him. When he made his breakthrough, there was no pressure on him because there was no expectations. And I think that, you know, we saw when Goppert came on, where did Goppert go to play? Goppert went to play a fullback.
Yeah.
So I think that selection's coming from numbers 10 and 12 Lansdowne Road. So that's taken the pressure off Madigan, and maybe it's freed him up a bit, and he's able to play with a bit more, I don't know, joie de vivre. I still can't stand to see an out half who can't make his kickoffs. But you know, apart from that, I thought he played well. I thought the last 20 minutes the rugby we played was awesome. Was excellent. It was really, really excellent. You had, if you like, the middle 5 of the back row and the halfbacks, and I don't think that the presence of Luke McGrath was any fluke when this started to happen. You had that middle 5 really, really functioning well. Yeah. And they started to make inroads down the blind side in particular with little clever passes and little movements. Yeah. And Madigan stopped hitting stupid skips. He started hitting
and
just simple one
outs. Like sometimes it's ideal
unforgiving
to throw,
passes,
but they are, and like.
Well, he put guys into touch twice.
We're aiming at the guy's outside shoulder, and sometimes the players aren't running onto the ball, or they have to check their stride, and it's just it's so inaccurate still. And even I was watching. We mentioned, you know, Ulster taking or not taking their opportunities in the first half when they had so much possession, but it was like a complete contrast to what Leinster did. Ulster ran the ball at practically every opportunity, and they seemed to run up their arse eventually. But
how many times
we got the ball? We got fantastic ball off the top of a line out and kicked it straight away.
You know, how many times? I mean, you could make that review, if you like, of Ulster versus Leinster. Any time over the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, it always seems to be that way. And the thing should be, I mean, I've been critical of Madigan, but the thing is, he played very well. I thought overall, if you take the whole thing,
if you subtract the bad bits from the good bits,
I think he's up.
He walked away with 19 points in an interprovincial game.
I think he played very well in association with McGrath. I was very pleased to see that. I think the real thing that really helped, like you were saying about the amount of time Ulster spent in our half, the amount of time they spent attacking, I think having Fergus McFadden and his defensive reads back into the back line made a huge. His work rate is extraordinary. He made 10 tackles. I mean, I think he was the top tackler, or joint top tackler.
And they were all tackles.
And they were all tackles.
None of them were.
You see, he comes back into the back line. Luke Fitzgerald comes back into the back line. Suddenly things are looking a bit sharper, you know. Certainly our defence is looking stronger because those guys have seen it all, done it all. They know how the back line should work. They know how the defence should work, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. No, I thought.
If it hadn't been, I know we're talking about it later. If it hadn't been for Conan, McFadden would have been my man of the match.
Yeah. No, well, actually, when the man of the match was called out, the guy sitting to my left, and me both at the same time. He said Luke Fitzgerald and I said Jack Conan, exactly at the same second. You know, you could, just for the magic, you could have put Madigan in there as well. But you know, there are things that subtract from that, as we've just discussed. But
Ulster, when Heaslip went off injured, Ulster must have thought, well, here we go.
Yeah,
rubbing their hands together.
And Jennings didn't
make it.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was just about to say. You have your vice captain, like we've two vice captains. One of them, Rob Kearney, is not available. The other one, Shane Jennings, goes down in the warm up, and then your captain, and that's
Mr.
2/3 of your back row. Mr. I never get injured. Goes down.
I read a stat.
The Wolverine of Irish rugby.
He looked shocked.
He hadn't been taken off the pitch.
What's this pain?
Since I think January 10 or December 10.
December 10.
When we played Claremont in Claremont,
over in Claremont, yeah. But you know, this happens, and you know, let's not forget, we're already missing 3 6s.
Mm-hmm.
We're already,
18.
you know, that's 18. Now we've
and a 7. That's 25.
So, you know, we're down to literally, with Dan Levy injured as well, we're down to literally the last 3 back row players that we have.
Yeah, it turns out they're quite good.
And it turns out they're bloody excellent. Jack Conan was, like, looking back through the game, I thought he was even better than I did at the ground. He, you know, he's just such a muscular carrier, and he's very unfussed looking as well. He's
we'll see the try that he scored, but even in the build up to that try, the little run that he made, the jingle, like as Ella said, you know, if you touch the ball twice, you'll score, and sure enough, he did.
Well, the thing that I mean, obviously, Jack Cohen's a great player, and Jack Cohen's a very promising player. Jamie Heaslip is a great player, and you lose a great player, and it's a problem. But what probably helped Conan as well is the fact that, you know, in a way, our back row was better balanced once Heaslip went off, because what we had is we had an 8 playing 8, we had a proper out and out 7 playing 7, and you know, a talented 8 and 6 can sometimes interchange, interchange. So you had another 8 playing 6. So our back row was probably better balanced after Heaslip went off than it was before he went off.
And the one thing they say about short 6s is that, you know, they're not great for the line out, and you could maybe say that with Sean O'Brien because he's a bit heavier and he's harder to lift, but Jordy Murphy took possibly as many throws as anybody, or as many catches as anybody else in the line out. He's a superb line out forward, you know.
And one thing about Van der Fleer, I mean, he's turned a bit of a. He didn't quite turn into a silk purse, but one of the big sow's ears of Leinster rugby this season has been the amount of ball we're putting down. You know, with bad hands. You know, it helps to have a groundhog number 7 there. If you're putting a lot of ball on the deck, you may as well have a groundhog there to at least clean some of it up. And if you notice, he did. I mean, there's a couple of times when, you know, mistakes were made that he cleaned up just by getting his arse on the ground really, really quick.
Well, this is the thing. I say it regularly enough about when you see loose ball coming from either team. You know, there's always a team that goes, "Oh yeah," before they jump, whereas other ones just go and they don't even think about it. And you know, when you see little incidents like that in a game, like the Munster game in Lansdowne Road, it was always Munster that were going to fall in that ball. We were kind of, oh yeah.
There's a difference between a guy bending down to pick up a ball and a guy just going straight down on it, you know. Yeah. And for us against Ulster, Josh Van der Fleer was going straight down on it, which I think is, and the back row just looked properly balanced, and you could see that towards, again, when we came into that 20-minute period towards the end of the game, when we began to get dominant, both with, you know, having, you know, a bit more strength on the bench that we were able to bring on, so they were getting tired and we were able to take advantage of that, and we were, you know, just beginning to expose the kind of the gaps that were there, because our back row was so mobile and was playing so well and was linking so well together with the halfbacks. You know, we were beginning to expose an awful lot of gaps. I mean, gaps started to appear that, you know, Conan went through, Van der Fleer went through a gap, Murphy went through a gap, all in that last 20-minute period.
But I thought, you know, as you said, Josh de Fleer had a fine game, and he's only, what, 21?
Yep.
If that,
yeah, you know, like it seems to be the future is definitely in these guys' hands. It's just there's so many people ahead of them that the roadblock. It's like what with O'Driscoll and Darcy were there in the centre 10 years ago. There's no room for them, you know.
Well, now we've got an academy full of centres. Who we need to get out on the paddock, you know. So, you know.
Well, we went through that phase where every player in the Leinster Academy seemed to be a back row. Now every player in the Leinster Academy seems to be a centre.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll go the other way around again.
Well, why don't we just have a quick look at the first try from Madigan? Look, came after a bit of a, I don't know, a brain seizure by Boss.
I think he saw the advantage.
Yeah. Well,
I think it was just he
could have done a better kick out.
I think he was just getting rid of the ball because he wanted the penalty.
Possibly. we'll give him that.
Heard talk today about Madigan. There was calls for Rog from the sideline, but I think that's a lot of rubbish.
It's called for Rog.
For Rog, apparently it was a pre-called move, but I don't think so.
Oh, I doubt it very much.
Trying to say was
nobody if it was a pre-called move, can you see Leinster calling it Rog?
Yeah, just seriously? To confuse everyone.
I mean, there was good work down the touchline before. This is what we're seeing here. We're seeing, this was nice actually. I thought this was a nice line here.
He lovely tricky feet from Kirshner.
Yeah, very unlucky not to make it himself. We'd have called it an ollie.
Yeah.
From exact same place actually against the Dragons.
And he had to make that, and he did.
He's done that before. Like, that is not his first time to try that.
I think it's his first time to be where it's been so extravagant. Because normally it's been a quick take and a run. But
I think he's done one earlier on the season where he tipped it to himself and he ran and he got it. And was it
Did he do one for Ireland Day
against Georgia?
Or was it Ireland Day? It was some. Can't remember who. It was a year or two ago, but like.
That was a bit more extravagant because he actually dummied a kick to the sideline.
I was just about to say that he looked like he was going to kick it for touch, and everybody's lining up that way, including the Leinster players. I think it was McFadden that got in behind him eventually, but there he is. Look, McFadden running across.
He's a small statured guy, but he must be very strong.
I'd say he's very powerful. I wonder how small he actually is.
He's also fearless.
I mean, he's small. He looks small beside other gigantic rugby players. I wonder if he is actually small, or is he?
He's not. No, he's a well built guy, but. He's, I think he's about 5'11". He's not overly tall, but it's the fearless mad dog eyes on him. He's not afraid of tackling anyone. He's not afraid of running through anyone. He's never afraid to take responsibility, which I think is a good thing about him.
No, sometimes that's true.
Sometimes he takes too much of it.
Yeah.
But
sometimes the decision making could do with some adjustment, but he's not scared. He doesn't shirk responsibility.
He never shirks.
It reminds me actually of David Humphries. Remember, he scored a famous
tap
and go against the Scarlets, where he took a scrum cap off and laid it on the ground,
right,
and then just tapped and went. Because it was almost Pavlovian when you saw Humphries take a scrum cap off. You knew he was going to kick a goal. And wasn't there a famous one? I can't remember the player involved where. He stood in front of the post and he pointed at the post and said to the ref, "I'm not kicking at those." And then all the opposition went behind and he ran off. I can't remember who. It was quite a high profile player, but I can't remember who it was.
I remember England used to do one. Richard Hill, who's gone back to his era, and there was a scrum half, Richard Hill.
Oh, right.
And he'd stand with his back to the try line, and then he'd just literally take it as if he was going to tap to the coming forward pack, but he just used to chip it over his head
and turn around and run.
And then the pack would then run onto the ball behind him. But why don't we take a look at Jack Conan's try? He seems to he had a fairly high success rate for the amount of appearances he has.
Yeah, I thought he had like you say,
massive amount of carries.
I thought he had a phenomenal game.
I was very impressed with him. He just looked so assured, and he just broke
all the ball carrying.
That's what we need, though. This guy who can break the bloody game line like that.
So well there, just to set that up.
But I mean, there were a huge number of really good carries in this little phase. Ben Teo makes a good carry. Toner makes a good carry. We're about to see Cronin make an incredible carry here, actually. It was just, I mean, and that's one thing we've missed this season. We've missed that guy making that carry off and we've missed that pass, actually.
Yeah.
That's the two things we missed. One, the guy's making the carry, and two, just that little dink pass to a guy running a good line. We haven't seen that at all this season.
Oh wait, is that the guy that people slag that he can't pass?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I don't think that's the world's most difficult pass. Now, in fairness, whatever your views on scrum half passing, I think he could manage that one.
But the offloads kill teams, and we haven't done it. And when you do get it so close in, and you can get your hands free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good carries there. That's
what characterised the end of the game was our forwards doing that. I mean, it wasn't so much the backs; it was the forwards just doing those hard yards and bursting the gain line that got us on top in the last quarter.
But that run, that we just saw it there when he drove in. When he's taking that ball, all the Ulster defenders have to go back on their heels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And as a result, it's that split second that they can't be on their toes
They can't convert the momentum.
And also they can't get to the next carrier, because they're on their arse. Or else they're out of alignment, or the guys
But it was the thing to take from that try was the presence. I mean, we've signed guys to ball carry, and they did. which was important. I mean, Ben Teo made a comeback. I mean, he didn't do very much, but I mean, it was
he
key.
had one carry,
but he had 2 carries. But I mean, it was an important one. I mean, he set up the whole.
Absolutely, I'm not knocking him. I'm just he had like 4 minutes or something at the end. So
I would like to see him get more, but I think it worked out for us in the end. I mean, I'm
sure we'll get more next week.
Our ducks are beginning to line up.
Well, we have been decimated by injuries, regardless of how poorly the team is playing. We have been, and we can't deny that. But now these guys are starting to come back. Fitzgerald's back, McFadden's coming in. We have options now. Teo's coming back.
Marty Moore is supposed to be available next week.
And the thing about that is, I think I said a few weeks ago about that Fanning has been the first name on the team sheet, just to give us consistency, because we haven't, we've had so little consistency in other positions, and Goppert has been started at 10 a lot because, again, consistency, he's going to be there all the time. Now we've got guys back. It's going to take a little while before they gel as a backline, until you get an actual backline that's playing together every week and get, the handling is not, with the best coach in the world, the handling is not going to just start like that.
Interesting to read comments by Murphy, and he kind of said, well, I have been out injured, but I did find it difficult to get back into the pace of the game. It's grand, whatever.
Back now, though, isn't he?
Doing laps and whatever and getting your physical fitness, but it's actually the pace of the game and getting it readjusted to it. Rumours as well that O'Brien and Cian Healy won't make it back for the Champions Cup games. That was reported today on the score.ie and also on Newstalk.
I'll believe it when I don't see them. They might just come out of left field at the last moment.
I think
God knows we're going to need them.
I mean, to be honest, I don't trust a word that comes out of Leinster Rugby about injuries. I mean, you'd have to wonder how many players have been injured in the warm-up this season. 4? Is it 4? 4 times we've lost players in the warm-up?
At least.
Easily more than that.
Maybe they should change their fucking warm-up, right? Or, tell the truth about team selection, which is, the real thing. But I don't believe a word that comes out of Leinster Rugby about injuries.
It was interesting though, because Murphy was interviewed today, not Murphy the player, Geordie Murphy, and he said, he kind of alluded to the fact that the guys came in, that one guy was subbed in and one guy kind of came from being a reserve back into the, started in the game, and the other guy came into the reserves. He actually so it wasn't as though it was known throughout the week that Jennings wasn't going to make it on this particular occasion.
He should have said the same thing about Rob Kearney in that Munster match, didn't he?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
you won't let that go, Dave.
I think the dogs in the street knew that he wasn't playing that day. Yeah, but maybe the Jennings one was a legit one.
Maybe
I don't know. I don't know, Dave.
He was tugged out.
I know they have form.
They have form. So, I mean, if they were up in front of the judge wouldn't believe it. But the thing is, I mean, Mario Caputo was on press duty today. He said one thing. Richie Murphy's on press duty yesterday. He says another thing. Leon Collins on Friday. He says a third thing.
But I think that got a bit exaggerated. They said, they're making better progress. Like it was in the Irish Times today that Healy was going to be. Well, it didn't say he was going to be back, but he said that his injury was progressing faster than originally. But the problem was that one leg isn't as strong as the other, and I think it was just the rumor was just put to bed and said, look, he's not going to be making back. He's doing well, but he ain't going to be.
I think the presence of Brian Cullen in the Leinster backroom team has had a detrimental effect on the naming of teams. We're about as reliable as a GAA team during the championship.
All we need now is to be delayed for half an hour before people get into the stadium. Yeah. So, anyway, our win moves us up to 4th place and pushes Ulster behind.
It's very tight at the top.
There's 4 points in it. Like you think, let's face it, we're not playing good rugby, and we're only 4 points off the lead.
Poxed lucky are the words I'd use to be in the position we're in. I'd say if we get some of the statos together to figure out, has ever in the league have the top 4 teams not got a single bonus point or any kind of a point between them, because literally they didn't. They got nothing. Which can anybody think of that?
I can't think. Yeah, no, they
were all away.
No losing bonus points either. No. I mean that's
what I'm saying.
Point. Yeah.
They were all away, in fairness, but like some of them were away to Munster were away to a team they've lost once in 42 times to. Glasgow were away to a team who looked like they were made of milk chocolate. The Ospreys were away to a team they kind of struggled with at home the previous week, so they were probably the least likely. And Ulster, never have a good. They won once this millennium in Dublin, but still in all, you would have expected one of those teams to have got
to at least get a losing
bonus point from somewhere.
Well, Munster had a good chance against Connacht, like they were pounding their line, but fair play to Connacht. I was praying that they'd hold them out. So
the welcoming buttocks have snapped shut.
I saw that.
No, fair play to Connacht. I mean, we were wondering. We've been asking all this season about the influence of Pat Lam and that Connacht team, and had he made a fundamental change to the Connacht mindset?
I think he has.
There was a positive indication with the selection for Exeter in the Challenge Cup, and now the perform not even the result, but the performance against Munster.
They were awesome. They were really good.
Yeah, has shown that yes, Pat Lam has turned about the Connacht mindset. I mean, it's fair to say. I mean, fair play to him.
I was listening to News Talk interviews about 25 minutes long, and it was really good. I don't know if either of you heard it. Just Pat Lam was just on the money. No matter what question he was asked, he managed to be inspirational with his answers. Like, he was just, the way he buys into Connacht, the way he did his research, and tries to
players meet each other and he says they have to say
do you quit and all that. Stuff that sounds stupid, but actually, it's just a mindset thing and a habit thing, and getting the players, even guys like Mills Muliaina, he was talking about him having kids writing them letters, and just getting into what Connacht is and what it means, and about the province, and he says that obviously he's not from Connacht, and that in professional sports you have to go wherever the money is, or wherever it's the rugby is, but at the same time you have to buy into it, because rugby is a game.
He reminds me an awful lot of Cheika. Cheika's attitude was very similar in that regard. He says, obviously, I can't feel patriotic about what happens in Irish rugby because I'm not Irish.
Yeah.
Says, but I bought into it because I worked there and all my friends worked there, and I developed relationships. And Pat Lam seems to have gone the same way.
Yeah, but he's really into the whole culture of the thing, which I think is really important. Like, some people miss that, and some people seem to have this thing about mental coaching that you just have to believe. So in terms of, you can lie on a sofa for 3 weeks before the game, and as long as you believe you're going to win, that's not what it means at all. It means you start with that, you form habits out of it, and it actually makes you do the work. The belief is what makes you work harder, rather than you don't need to work hard just because you believe. So it's everything is kind of turned around. But Lam, for me, and he's gone on about the, when I read the quote in the paper saying, 20,000 seater stadium in Galway, and this is the kind of thing we need in the World Cup bid. I was looking at that going, fair play to you, Pat, good try, but when you listen to him say it, you're going, well, actually, he's got a point there. Okay, maybe not 20,000, but
well, they used to get, if you look back, and I don't know how accurate we don't know how accurate the Pro 12 attendance figures are going back. Well, they're not accurate now, so they're hardly going to be accurate but there was 3 digits of people were going to watch the Connacht matches.
I remember Connacht getting 850 for a match.
And now they're getting like 7. They got 7,500 at the Munster match,
which is capacity.
20,000 isn't. I don't think it's realistic for Connacht certainly in the near to medium term future.
You might get 12 though.
But sure, why not have it as a name? Why not have that as a name? Why not say that one day Connacht Rugby will need 20,000 seater? Why not? I mean, there's no harm in it. It doesn't cost them anything to do it, and at the same time, it's saying, look, there's goals, there's things you guys can achieve, and these are what these things ultimately will lead to. I don't see any harm in it. I mean, business-wise, no, but in terms of aspirational, certainly.
Connacht are getting bigger crowds than Leinster were probably less than 10 years ago. I mean, we were all at Donnybrook, with 3,500 people at it. It wasn't that long ago. It was only 10 years ago when we were beating whatever Clermont used to be called.
Montferrand.
Montferrand. And it was 7,500 people at that match in Donnybrook that night, where they ran out of change for the 15 quid in. But they still have one thing. There's lots of rumours abounding about Henshaw coming up to Dublin, and it's already a done deal. If the IRFU let that go through, while it might benefit Leinster Rugby, I think it's gonna in a lot of ways hinder or ruin what's been built in Connacht,
which is not going to be great for Irish rugby. Wouldn't it be great? And this is another thing Lam is on about. Wouldn't it be great? The way we come on here and we say, all 3 provinces did blah blah blah. There's 4.
Well, the other side.
It'd be great if we had 4 that were, of a standard.
If Connacht are kind of one of the big boys now,
well, they certainly
which means
are.
they get treated like the big boys, and that includes having their players poached from time to time.
Yeah, but not out of contract, Dave.
They're all centralised contracts. I mean, we made the same point about Conway when we lost Conway to Munster. I mean,
Conway's an entirely different kettle of fish than
he's not an Ireland starter.
Conway was nowhere near the player.
He was nowhere near as centrally important to Connacht, to us, as Henshaw is to Connacht.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, Henshaw's obviously, he's a guy who wants to play at the highest level possible. Yeah. Now, for the IRFU, they might decide, no, we're going to keep him in Connacht. Mm-hmm. But then in 12 months' time, he pisses off to France. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of balancing acts to be done. They have to decide. They have to do what's best for Connacht, which obviously will be keeping a happy Henshaw there.
Yeah.
How do you keep Henshaw happy and in Connacht? The deal might be stick it out another year and then you can go to Leinster.
Get in the top 6. Yeah.
Or the deal might be to Connacht. Okay, look, you're going to lose Henshaw, but Johnny Sexton's coming home to Leinster, so they've a spare out half. Do you want him? There's all this kind of... but that's the horse trading that goes on behind the scenes in Irish rugby,
Yeah, but you're going to get to the stage then where the players become pieces of meat. And it's,
players are already pieces of meat.
Madigan, over there. But, sir...
I think the players know they are.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they kind of play hardball with their contracts.
I don't know about that. I think that you need to get a player's buy-in, because these are the guys putting their bodies on the line at the end of the day. You need more than... When you look at what soccer players get, you need more than the few quid rugby player, even the ones that get a lot of money. You need more than that in the last minute of an 80-minute game when you're trying to hold out some big mad lunatic from crossing your line.
But the other side is to that is the player has to want to be there.
No, that's the point I'm making is the player has to want to be there. So if you soften the bonds with the province, if you say, well, look, you're in Leinster, go to Connacht. Like, what's the difference? So we're all Irish provinces.
It's not where I'm from, kind of thing.
If you deny that in a player, then you're weakening the provinces, and you're weakening the players.
Yeah, but I still think that the players are very pragmatic people, and
of course they are.
There's rumours going around about the second
row down.
All I'm saying is that
you should ask the guy back before you do any horse trading on his behalf.
Just take your man coming back from Connacht. What's his name? Kearney.
McCarney.
Like.
If he wants to come back.
Allegedly, he allegedly is going to come back. But the thing is, look who's ahead of him. The current Irish second row, a reserve Irish second row, and an Australian international. Now, okay, the guy might be ambitious and think, well, yeah, I'm there or thereabouts ahead of them. But the reality is, he isn't really within Narcissus row of those lads at the moment. And he's coming back to play BNI Cup. Mm-hmm. He's taken a step away from playing, potentially, next season in the Champions Cup, if Connacht get into the top 6.
The other side to that is we don't know what he's been told.
We don't, no.
We don't know. I mean, for example, for all we know, Joe Schmidt might decide that at the end of this season is the end of Mike McCarthy as an international, and that maybe he wants somebody else in Leinster to step up to that place to take, because then Leinster will have 2, Munster will have 2, and Ulster will have 2, because they'll have Henderson and Toohey. So he might be shaping things around that way. You never know. I mean, there's all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, what you have to have is Connacht have gotten up into this position now on the back of their own merits. Back of their own merits, and they're finally getting supported the way that the rest of us are. So basically on the back of the same merits as the rest of us. So there's going to be threats to their players, not just from the other Irish provinces. There's going to be threats to their players from abroad. Marmion is going to be targeted less so now that he's capped. I mean, he was in serious danger of being lost to Wales. But now he's capped. But then on the other hand, for the IRFU, they're thinking, okay, it's a guy down there, or a guy in Munster, or a guy in Ulster, not necessarily just in Connacht. There's a guy in Leinster who's unhappy. Maybe he's not getting the game time he deserves, or he feels he deserves, or maybe he's not playing the kind of rugby that he feels would suit him best, and he's got itchy feet. Would it be better for us if we kept him within the Irish system? Because then we'd still have access to his talents on an unlimited basis for the national team, as opposed to having to, fiddle with some strange Gatlin's Law type situation that they have that they've recently come into now in Wales. So, the idea is, and I think the thing is, there's 2 ways of looking at it as well with Henshaw. People have noticed that he has issued some very non-denial denials.
Definitely, and he had one today as well.
But the other side of that is, what else is he going to say? He's not going to say, no, I don't want to come to Leinster. Why would I want to go to Leinster? He's not going to do that, because at some stage he may end up in Leinster, and that interview is travelled out in front of him, because you never know how.
Didn't hurt Sean Cronin.
Well, he never said he never wants to go to Leinster. That's the thing. But you don't want these things trotted out, and so you say nothing. You know rugby players. I mean, they could talk for half an hour without saying a single thing. And the modern rugby player, the modern media trained, all they'll ever do is say, "Well, I have a contract that's lasts for another year," because they're told to just state the obvious.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to raise from the Pat Lam's interview was, and it's a Kiwi thing, it's a Kiwi coach thing. Joe Schmidt was like it. It's the culture of sharing that they have with their provincial and Super Rugby setup over there, where it's like. What Pat Lam said in the interview was that the black jersey is the most important thing over there. The Crusaders, the Auckland Blues, and all. It's important, but it's nothing to the black jersey. Whereas we've had our times here where people have been slagged for their provincial jerseys being more important than the green jersey. But I think we've said it before on here, where they kind of share information between the Super Rugby teams in New Zealand, and that the All Black coaches sit down with them and go, well, this is what we're going to be doing this year, so we want you to do this. We want you guys to buy into this. And the provincial coaches or the Super Rugby coaches don't hide their training methods or their
data
or their policies from each other in the way that provinces over here would. We are a lot more independent. We don't,
Well, see, I think as well there is a difference in that our provinces are actual geographical and historical entities,
course.
Whereas the Super Rugby franchises, they're not the provinces.
They're
in New
based
Zealand.
on provinces.
They're based around provinces, but aren't actual provinces. So there isn't the same.
That's true, and I'm not suggesting that we go down that route at all. But I'm just saying we could learn a thing or two about it. And what it's kind of, just to finish off on that, what it leads me into is the way. With Australian coaches, Cheika and O'Connor, it's been cloak of secrecy over everything. Like we've just discussed over, players being fit, not being fit. We see that as an advantage that the opposing teams might gain by knowing which of our players might be playing. There's a point there. But Joe, if you remember Joe Schmidt, he just go, "Oh yeah, we're going to play your man. We're going to do this." He just tell people stuff, and you'd be looking at this is weird. It took us a while to get used to him because he was just very honest with people. Obviously, he didn't say anything stupid and give away his game plan or anything, but he didn't. But
even in post-match interviews, he was so honest.
Exactly.
Like, and if we played bad and we were beaten, like he kind of said that rather than some nonsense that Declan Kidney or the likes used to just trot out. And you'd say, what did he actually say there in 5 minutes? Like Trapattoni, you can't understand.
You see, there are two schools of thought in that. There one is the blatant, brutal honesty approach, and the other is the give them nothing lads approach. There's two schools of thought on that. I think.
But the Kiwis tend to be more open on the whole.
We kind of split the difference between, say, Australia and New Zealand. The provincial coaches share nothing. Well, as far as we're aware, they share nothing with one another. And the rivalry is still very strong. However, the Irish coach is the be all and end all. I mean,
possibly they do now.
He has huge power over. I mean, always has. I mean, it's not just a new thing. I mean, there was a time, if you remember the days of the infamous PAG. I mean, 3 members. One of them was the Irish coach, and the other was the Irish manager. So the Irish team had huge power over Irish rugby. Always has had the Irish management team. So I think we're insular from one another. But I think the Irish coach has access to all knowledge. And always has had. I don't think that's a new thing. I don't think that's a Schmidt thing. I think Kidney had it. He just probably didn't know what to do with it. And O'Sullivan had it, and he was
probably afraid to share it.
He was probably afraid to share it,
even with the players.
I think what Schmidt would probably do is feed it back down into the provinces.
But that's it.
Now
that's what we need.
He'd respect the provinces'
autonomy,
but he would feed information back down. O'Sullivan never would.
No,
God no.
But it's interesting, like, I mean, O'Sullivan, I heard him on the radio there a while ago, and he was, talking about, say, the autumn internationals, and this is in the lead up to the autumn internationals, and how much pressure the IRFU were putting on him to win these games. Like, the thing is that if you think about it, like, because of that, he became such a conservative coach in winning those games, and didn't experiment with. Look at what Schmidt did this season. How many players he used in those 3 games?
Kind of had to as well, though.
Well, he kind of had to, but at the same time, he gave hell of a lot of new caps. He brought in fellas that were, and the periphery, even Trimble last year was sitting up in the stands, and he was a star in the Six Nations, you know.
But that's a particular talent that Joe Schmidt is managing a big group of players.
In fairness to Joe Schmidt wasn't told that he had to win all 3 autumn internationals or his job was on the line. The way that Eddie O'Sullivan was told,
I don't know what he was told. I wasn't there.
We don't know, but I can't imagine Joe Schmidt putting up with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we lost 2 of the 3 autumn internationals last year. People forget that.
Yeah, it was his first year. When was the All
What
Blacks?
I'm saying is, O'Sullivan was told that his win rate was all important because that was the Irish team was what put cash in the register of the Irish rugby. It was really, really important for him.
Going back in the days when there was 500 people going to Connacht and 2,500
people
going to Leinster.
The entire game was funded through the Irish team, so the win rate of the Irish team was really, really important. And at the time, I mean, this was a new experience for Irish rugby. We had a really good team that was winning most of its matches. I don't think... I mean, has there ever been a decade like the noughties for Irish rugby? No, there's never been in the history of the game. In
the 40s, but like obviously,
there
was a war.
That was because every team we played, half the team died. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, there's never been a decade like it for Irish rugby, and even towards the end of it, we got tired of Triple Crowns. Now, I didn't go to a rugby playing school. I went to school in the Navan Road. We got a half day when Ireland won the Triple Crown back in, and that's the effect the Triple Crown had back then. And through the noughties, we got so tired of winning them, and with the introduction of Italy, of course, but they became kind of meaningless. And that was as a result of success. And the RFU were keen that O'Sullivan keep that level of success up. And that was by being told, I mean, his win rate was all important. And I always feel sorry for him because I get a feeling he might have been a bit more... I think O'Sullivan's an innately conservative coach, but I think he might have been a bit more experimental during the autumn because it would have served him better coming into the 5 Six Nations. I think he would have preferred to have a wider playing base, but he just didn't have that option.
Yeah, well, we could do it.
But he was like, I remember watching. I think I was watching it with you on the 07 World Cup, and he had a deal with TV3 that they did interviews after it. And I can't remember the lady who...
Sinead Kassan.
Sinead Kassan asked him straight out, you never use any of your subs. And his reply was, well, there was no one on the bench that was better than the fellas that were on the pitch. Like, regardless of whether they're better or worse players, they're a lot more rested and fresher. And therefore, will probably add more impetus into the players that are on the rest of the team.
Anyway.
We play Cardiff Blues over in Cardiff. They have an appalling record against us. I think what did I read? That they'd only won once in 16 games, stretching back 8 seasons.
Wow. They had 2 draws though.
Was that not did that not cost us the league?
It probably did, yeah. That match was in February 11.
Oh, right, okay. Oh yeah, well okay.
I hope it doesn't happen once every 4 years then.
Because they cost us the league in 2007.
Yeah.
2006,
2007.
That was in Ospreys, wasn't it?
It was 2007 because it was the last match that Dennis Hickey played for Leicester.
All we had to do was win in Cardiff and we would have won the league.
That was Ospreys.
No, it wasn't. It was Cardiff.
Cardiff, I was actually at it.
Was it?
Yeah, Shane Horgan scored a try. Scored a nice try actually ran a dog leg, but we got beaten.
It was the last day of the league. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so...
we owe them one.
We've already beaten them this season.
Yeah.
But you got to think we're going to put out a reasonably strong team a week before the Champions Cup.
It's been a very disappointing season for Cardiff. There was a lot of predictions from people who should really know better, but that Cardiff were going to be real challengers.
They've only won 4 games this season, but they've won 3 of their last 4. So they're on a bit of a roll now at the moment.
They did lose to the Dragons at home before beating them away,
which is odd.
Which was odd, but. Anscombe is now coming into a bit of form for them. I saw him over the weekend, and
kicking well.
He's what do we always say about Kiwi players? They've always got great basics, and he's got great basics. He's stuff that you take for granted out of a Kiwi that you don't take for granted out of professional rugby players everywhere. He's I wouldn't say he's fabulous or anything, but he's a lot more solid than what they've had, and I think he could cause us a few problems. He's a good controlling player as well. He can play full back. He's a bit of versatility about him.
He's going to declare for Wales, isn't he?
Well,
his mother's Welsh.
He is Welsh. I mean, he's Welsh qualified. He'll be in the Six Nations.
Well, they've lost. Well, not Cardiff now, but Priestland's gone to Bath. Yeah.
But Priestland knew that him going to Bath was the end of his Welsh career. I mean, he made that decision because with him leaving, or with who was it signed a central contract?
It's apparently if there's 6 central
contracts. Yeah, somebody signed a
contracts.
central contract last week, and that invoked Gatlin's law. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which means that if you're abroad, from now on, you're not getting picked. And he's decided to move.
Well, anyone who signs after.
Yeah.
People who are currently abroad are okay.
Yeah, it has been grandfathered, but he's decided to move at the end of this season, which means he's given up on the Welsh team, unless it's a drastic emergency. But I don't think that's actually a huge. I mean, Priestley has come in for an awful lot of abuse from Welsh supporters, and a lot of it isn't really justified. But I don't see him being any more than third choice for Wales at this point in time.
I don't think he's playing really well once in his career. That was against us in the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Anyway, Jamie Heaslip is definitely going to be out next weekend, and the last time Mr. Jay Conan went over to Cardiff was his other man of the match.
Yeah.
His debut.
And his debut, was it last season or 2 seasons ago? Anyway, whenever it was he put his body about and did a lot of serious carrying.
Scored a try.
And scored a try, so we'll be looking for him to do something similar. The great thing is, as we said earlier, we've got bodies coming back. We've got fit guys coming into the team, giving Matt O'Connor a headache for selection. So we shouldn't be short of anybody. We shouldn't have to play players out of position. We shouldn't, okay, we're a bit tight in the back row, but we should have Dominic Ryan back. And we've got the 3 that played last week, which are pretty serious. We could be missing Jack McGrath by the sound of it.
Yeah,
he's been cited.
Yeah, he could.
Which is a bit of a few people unhappy.
It's a very silly thing to do. I mean, he deserves citing for stupidity alone, if nothing else. I mean, you can't do that in a rugby pitch anymore. I mean, you can make the argument, well, the other guy did it and he got away with it, but so what? I mean, Jack McGrath isn't in charge of the other guy. He is in charge of himself, and he should control himself. I mean, it's just discipline. It's professionalism.
I was just looking at our run in for the remainder of the season. Like, I think we have 5 away. We have 6 away and 4 at home. Mm-hmm. But the ones that we do have at home, we've got Zebre, Treviso, Dragons, and Glasgow. Now, obviously, Glasgow, that's going to be an 8-point game one way or the other. But those other 3 games, we really need to be getting our maximum points from those.
Absolutely, yeah. We need a win in Cardiff for sure. We need 3 wins in a row here, and then we've a little holiday before the Six Nations. Then we've 2 easy games. Actually, they're both in the same week, both within 6 days.
Please don't use the phrase easy games.
Well, relatively, it's Zebre and the Dragons at home in the RDS. That, if you're going to call anything an easy game, that's probably 2 of the candidates. And it's during the Six Nations, which doesn't affect the Dragons so badly, but it probably affects Zebre.
Oh yeah, hugely.
So, after that, unfortunately, we have 2 hard away games in Wales. One of them is in a break weekend, and the other one isn't. Ospreys and Scarlets. I can't remember which way around it is, but we need to go on a crusade like we did in the last Six Nations, where we got every single point bar 1.
But I think the signs are
got 19 points out of
positive.
20.
Like it's kind of been up and down. Like we'd obviously the debacle over in London. Then we had poor enough performance in our win against Harlequins in Dublin. Then we beat Connacht, lost to Munster, and then beat Ulster.
It's a bit of an up and down chart, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Mixed bag.
Like a mountain range, it's up and down. Peaks and troughs. Well, that's what you see. What we have to do is we have to start getting that line climbing steadily upwards instead of up and down the way it is. I mean, and like you said, last season was the template in terms of because when we've been successful, we've always picked up big points during the Six Nations.
Yep.
It's when we've always been, where you turn the knife. I mean, during the autumn internationals, it's okay. You can still make up anything you make a mistake over Christmas. You can pick it up, but this Six Nations period is vital. This is where leagues
you're running out of games.
Yeah, this is where leagues are won and lost. I mean, this is your last chance to do it. I mean, anytime we've been successful in the league, it's been as a result of a Six Nations program.
But that's probably because our squad is so much better than most other clubs, and
we have a lot of depth.
That's it. I mean, if you're looking at like the 3 lads that finished the game in the back row, we talked about them for a good while tonight, but they're probably our 7th, 8th, and 9th choice.
They would certainly struggle to make the bench.
Yeah.
If everyone was fit, would you not think that they'd be 7th, 8th, 9th choice?
Oh yeah, certainly. I'd say some of them probably aren't even in our European squad. You know, I don't know. I'm not saying, but it's feasible. You look at our first.
I don't think Fleer is.
I would certainly agree with that assessment in terms of the strict numerical order that you put on at the start of the season with everyone. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I think Mr. Conan might have risen up the rankings.
I think so. Look,
he's in the squad, yeah.
You know, and some other lads might have dropped down a bit of form and whatever. But certainly at the start of the season,
absolutely,
you would have probably had them. If we had had that maybe spreadsheet that Anthony Foley had.
Yeah. I think that if you look at the teams that have done well in the league, with the exception maybe of Glasgow, who come into it recently, and now this is the first year we're going to see what their squad depth is like. This is the first year they'll test their squad depth.
There's only 2 clubs in Scotland, and I know a few of them play abroad. But they're going to be devastated come internationals.
We're really going to see how Glasgow are this time. But you look at Leinster, Ulster, Munster and Glasgow. The teams with the 4 biggest squads are the teams that have been the most consistently successful at this period of the season going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Edinburgh can take a bit of heat off them this with their resurgence.
Whatever happened to the slaughter of the effeminates?
Didn't turn out to be so this time.
Well, Edinburgh are going to play Connacht actually at the weekend in the Sports Ground. You know, so
hopefully that'll be the slaughter of the effeminates.
Yes. Although it looks like Tim Visser found the try line again after a long way away.
He did.
There was a time when he was been talked of as a significant. I mean, he got injured, but he was a significant Lions prospect. And then it just kind of all fell apart.
You know where he'd be great if they had an American football thing where
he didn't have to do any defending.
He didn't have to do defending. You could just throw him on. Yeah. Okay, score a try, Tim. You know, and then okay, the ball's coming back the other way. Okay, Tim, off. Okay, put on that big lumpy fella here.
Bring on the South African.
Anyway,
and Glasgow then, or one of our other rivals, they're playing Scarlets. So it's a fixture that seems to just kind of flip flop every few.
They signed actually. They re-signed Pyrgos and somebody else was announced either today or yesterday, but Pyrgos was one of them. And in light of what we were talking about, say Matawalu leaving, I think that the key signing for them was getting Pyrgos to stay because he's the guy that they're. You know, I mean, Matawalu he had displaced Matawalu in the team over the last year. Let's be honest, Matawalu wasn't the starting guy. Pyrgos was, so it's good for them that they're keeping some of those players.
Funny thing about the Scarlets and Glasgow game. If you're a Leinster fan, you want the Scarlets to win. If you're a Connacht or an Irish rugby fan, you want Glasgow to win because you don't want the Scarlets to.
I'm prepared to settle for a 0-0 draw.
Well, you don't want the Scarlets. I'd like a 0-0 draw, yeah, because my Irish rugby side and my
then you'll balance off. You see,
would balance off against my Leinster side. But you know, we're at the point now where if anything is going to do Connacht bad, I don't want to say. I'd just love to see all the faces on the Welsh guys if we got four teams.
Oh yeah, I want to take that second Welsh qualification place off them.
Anyway,
so I do.
Well, I suppose if Ospreys beat the Dragons and we beat Cardiff, we're probably helping the cause a little bit.
Yeah, well that'll do.
And the final game, Zebre play Munster. Like it's probably a no-brainer there.
Hope and. Ulster are away to Treviso, aren't they? So yeah,
there might be 2 Irish wins on that one.
I hope so for the sake of Irish rugby.
Speaking of no-brainers, I saw Simon Zebo in an interview today.
What was he saying? Anything interesting?
I don't know. You were talking about no-brainers.
Oh dear.
Well, very good, Dave. Well, anyway, thanks a million for watching. Thanks a million, guys. Cheers.